Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I am sharing polishes with you from a brand that's completely new to me. This is the brand Color Gossip. So what I'm getting from their website is they are a charity brand where with every release they donate a portion of the proceeds to a different charity. So they sent me 18 polishes. These polishes come from a variety of their previous releases. All of these are available right now on their site. I will link that in the description box below, along with their Instagram page and my Instagram page, where you can see more swatches of all of these polishes. So I do have 18 polishes, and let's go ahead and get started. So the first polish is called Red Bottoms, and this is a bright fire truck red cream polish. So here is our one and only coat of Red Bottoms. This does cover completely in one coat for me. Depending on your preferences, you may end up going for a second coat, but I had no nail line when I held my actual hands up. The camera can sometimes pick up a nail line that's not actually there. But this is a fantastic formula, easy to use, no running, no pooling, and it does dry extremely glossy. Even though this is very pigmented, I had no issues with staining, but I will say getting it in your cuticles is a pain to get out. So there is one coat. Next up we have Designer Shades, and this is a bright sunshine yellow cream. So here's our first coat of Designer Shades. This is a little bit streaky and patchy here on this first coat, but it does have pretty good opacity on it. It does have a really nice formula. It's easy to work with. It doesn't want to run, pull, anything like that. I also didn't have any nail staining, but as far as when I was taking it off, I did have some skin staining, but for some reason yellows tend to stain my nails pretty badly anyway. Here's the second coat, and this one is still a little bit patchy here in the second coat, but the first time I used this polish I was able to get it completely opaque in just 2 coats. So if you lightly do your brush on your nail as opposed to pushing hard like I kind of am in these videos, it might cover completely in 2 for you. But I am going to go ahead and just show you a third coat, and this does cover completely in 3 coats for me. This also dries decently glossy and a little bit slow. All of these polishes, I've noticed the creams anyway, dried pretty slow. So there's 3 coats. Next up we have Tiffany Me, and this is a true Tiffany light blue teal cream polish. Here's our first coat of Tiffany Me. And again, this one is quite patchy and streaky here on this first coat, but it does have decent opacity for being such a light shade. This is also easy to use, easy to work with, doesn't want to run, pull, or anything like that. The creams have a really nice consistency. They're not too thick, they're not too thin. So here is the second coat, and this one does cover completely in 2 coats for me, though if you are a little bit more heavy-handed, you may end up needing a third coat here, but I am trying to apply quite daintily, I guess. This one also dries pretty glossy. Again, I had no staining here. I don't know if light blues stain anybody though. So there is 2 coats. Next up we have Clean Slate, and this is a cornflower blue cream color. Here's our first coat of Clean Slate. This has really good coverage here on this first coat. If you did a thick enough, careful application, you could probably get this opaque in just 1 coat. I feel like in my individual video I may have done just 1 coat of this one, but I do tend to be a little bit more careful in those videos than I do here because I get a lot of hate comments about, not getting close enough to my cuticle or sloppy applications, so I try to make those as neat as possible. But here's the second coat, and this one does cover completely in 2 coats. I also had no staining issues with this one. Again, it dries a little bit slow, but it does dry very glossy. And I don't know if I mentioned it, but this one does have the same nice cream formula that they all had. So there's 2 coats. Up Up next we have Remington Steel, and this is a dark navy cream. Here's our one and only coat of Remington Steel. So, let me explain this real quick. Every time I've used this polish, it's been a one coater, which this was the third time that I'd used it at this point. But I had just oiled my nails up, so it looks much worse than it actually is. This actually has a phenomenal formula. Not too thick, not too thin, stays right where you put it, and it always covered completely in just one coat for me. And I had no staining, and it dried very glossy. So there is one coat. Up next we have Wall Street, and this is a super deep purple red. So it looks purple, and as a full manicure it looks purple, but when it's super thin out you can tell that it's like a super duper duper dark, deep, vampy red. So here's our first coat of Wall Street. It says the same formula that all the creams have in this collection. It's not too thick, not too thin, easy to use, easy to work with, stays where you put it, doesn't want to run, doesn't want to pull, baby's grunting. It has pretty good coverage here in this first coat, but it is a little bit streaky obviously, so I am going to go in for a second coat. This one also dries very very slow, but very glossy. So here's the second coat, and this one does cover completely in two coats for me. I also had no staining with this one. And that second coat really deepens that color. It's almost like it's not even purple. So there's two coats. So this is the start of a lot of pinks, and this is Fashionista, and this is a light flamingo pink cream. Here's our first coat of Fashionista. This one also has a great formula, easy to use, easy to work with, broken record. It is quite patchy here in this first coat, so I am going to go in for a second. In this video, I am going to go ahead and do 3 coats, but if you are light-handed and just kind of feather the brush across your nail, you can probably wear this on 2 coats just fine. The first time I used it, it was 2 coats, no issue. So here's the second coat. Again, I am going to go in for a third coat just to kind of do patch control. I don't know if pinks have ever stained anybody, but this one didn't stain me. So here is the third coat, and this time it does cover completely in 3 coats for me. Again, dries a little bit slow, but it does dry very glossy. I do still recommend a glossy top coat for longevity. I haven't done a wear test on any of these for length time, but I will, and I will maybe get back to you on that. So there's 3 coats. Up next we have Spoiled Rotten, and this is a little bit darker of a pink than Fashionista was, and this is also a cream. So here is Fashionista, and here is Spoiled Rotten. So here's our first coat of Spoiled Rotten. And this one has more of a jelly-like formula to it, where it seems more three-dimensional and more squishy on the nails. There's a pink glitter in this collection that I wore this and the glitter as a jelly sandwich, and it was so cute. Again, this has a nice formula. It is a little bit thicker than the rest of the creams, which is, I assume, because of that jelly-esque finish. But it wasn't hard to work with. It was very nice. Stays right where you put it. But here's the second coat. This is still a little bit patchy here, so I'm going to go in for a third coat per the usual for a jelly polish. So here is that third coat, and this one does cover completely in 3 coats for me. I am still getting a little bit of patchiness here though, so you may want to do a 4th coat or maybe be a little bit more careful with your application, because at this angle that I paint, it is very difficult to be careful. So there's 3 coats. Next up we have Just a Tease, and this is a bubblegum pink cream. So here is Spoiled Rotten, and here is Just a Tease. So here's our first coat of Just a Tease. This has a great formula, easy to use, easy to work with, doesn't run, doesn't pull, anything like that. This is what I would consider more of a crelly. It has that jelly-like finish to it, but it does have a cream formula. Again, just very easy to use. This also dries very glossy. So here is our second coat, and this one does cover completely in 2 coats. Beautiful finish on this one. I do wish they had sent more fall-y shades or seasonally appropriate shades, because I feel like most of the things they sent are spring and summer. But there's 2 coats. Up next we have Pink Sugar, and this is a clear base with large pink and gold glitter and then pink micro glitter. Here's our first coat of Pink Sugar, and I'm layering this over just a tease. This is the pink glitter that I was talking about. This looks so cute with a jelly sandwich. It really does, but I have only tried it with the pink polish. I'd like to see what it looks like with other colors. This has a nice glitter to base ratio. It's not difficult to work with by any means, and you could sponge this on to get it completely opaque, but I had no problem spreading this evenly across the nail. This is going to be a little bit difficult to remove. So there's one coat. Up next we have Sugar Lollipop Popcorn, and this is a pink crelly base with a bunch of different rainbow metallic glitters in different sizes. Here's our first coat of Sugar Lollipop Popcorn, which I don't know why I have such a hard time saying that. This is extremely sheer here on this first coat. It does build up for me in 3 coats, but you may end up needing 4 coats for it, depending on how you apply. I am trying to spread the glitter out as evenly as I can. It's not difficult to spread it out, but you do get these kind of traffic jams of glitter. So here's the second coat, and that does build it up really nicely, and the amount of glitter in there really helps to distract from any nail line, but I am going to go in for a third coat. And I think since this base is so closely tinted to my actual skin, I feel like I'm trying to look for my nail line even more. But here's a third coat. This covers completely in 3 coats. It is going to dry textured, and it is going to be difficult to remove. But this does have a good formula. I don't know if I've said that yet. Really nice formula. So there's 3 coats. Up next we have Paparazzi Ready, and this is a super light putty-ish pink cream. The only thing about this one that kind of bothers me, and it's not even the polish itself, it's the cap. So all other 17 polishes that I received from this brand have the same cap except this one. I will zoom it out just a little bit to show you the difference. It's literally not even a big deal, but I don't get why they did it, and it really bothers me. Here's our first coat of Paparazzi Ready. You know those polishes that are just a delight to work with? This is a delight to me. It is streaky, it is patchy. It covers really well though as far as opacity goes, and it has a fantastic formula, but I've never had this color with this formula. So I was so impressed, and it is going to take me 3 coats, but I would happily do 3 coats for complete opacity, streak free, just to get this color on my nails. But here's the second coat. You can still see a little bit of patchiness there, but it does dry very glossy. Here's our third coat, and this one does cover completely in 3 coats for me. I believe the first time I used this, it was a 2-coater. I just had to use a very light, delicate hand to apply. Again, just really nice overall, in my opinion. So there is 3 coats. Going into the nude shades, the first one is a almondy shade, and this is called Naked. This is also cream polish. This is also the only bottle I received with a lightning bolt on the back, and I'm not sure what that stands for. I know all of these come from different charities. This isn't one collection, so it could have something to do with the charity it represents. And here it is next to Paparazzi Ready, just to show that it is more of a nutty color, and Paparazzi Ready is more of a pink. Here's our first coat of Naked. This has a great formula, easy to use, easy to work with, doesn't run, pull, anything like that. It is a little bit patchy here on this first coat, but again, the opacity is there. It is going to take 2 coats to build up though. Don't even try with a 1 coat. Again, this dries very glossy, and for a shade this color, This has just a great formula. Like, I'm really impressed with a lot of these. So here's 2 coats. This one does cover completely in 2 coats. And, you know, once I'm done saying things, I don't know what to say anymore. But I do like how this one looks matte. I really like wearing nudes with a matte top coat. So there is 2 coats. Next up we have a clutch bag, and this is an almondy base with a strong fuchsia-y copper-esque shimmer. And color-wise, here it is next to Nutty? Naked. Next to Naked. Here's our first coat of clutch bag. This one is a little bit on the thinner side as far as formulas go, and it is also a little bit more sheer than anything else in this collection. It is going to take 3 coats to build up completely. The shimmer in there is more of a hidden gem. You can see it if you're looking for it, but if you're not looking for it, it just looks like a nude cream. So here's the second coat, and this is starting to build up, but it is still a little bit patchy here. If you do thicker coats, it builds up obviously nicer, but to do the first coat as a thick coat, it will kind of run on you, but if you're using a base coat like you should, it probably won't, because it sticks to itself just fine to do thicker coats. So here's the third coat. This one does cover completely in 3 coats for me. It also dries very glossy and a little bit slow. I had no staining with this, I don't know. So there is 3 coats. Next up we have City Chic, and this is a super duper light brown with terracotta undertones, and it is a cream. Here's our first coat of City Chic. Again, a great cream formula, easy to use, easy to work with. Just a little bit sheer here on this first coat, but if you're not super picky, you could totally wear this on 1 coat just fine. So it's a good formula, easy to use, easy to work with, doesn't want to run, doesn't want to pull, doesn't stain, doesn't do anything wacky. And when you're putting it on your nails, it actually looks, against my skin tone anyway, I can't speak for everybody's, but it actually looks even more terracotta than it does in the bottle. It leans more terracotta orange than it does brown. So here's the second coat. This one does cover completely in 2 coats for me. Again, you may be totally fine with 1 coat, but it does dry down more sheer than it applies. So there is 2 coats. Next up we have Busybody, and this is a true dark chocolate brown cream polish. So here is our first coat of Busybody. Again, a great cream formula, easy to use, easy to work with. This is another instance though that I oiled up right before I started swatching. Swatching 18 polishes back to back is not easy on your nails, so I did have to oil between a few polishes, and this is one of them. So the application of this is a little bit more streaky than it was every other time I've used it. So here's the second coat, and this one does cover completely in 2 coats for me, and that brown deepens up with the second coat very, very dark. If you add a 3rd coat of this, it almost looks black on your nails, but I like the chocolatey look, so of course I'm going to stop here on 2. Again, this one dries very glossy, just a little bit slow. So there's 2 coats. Next up we have Hope is Golden, and this is a super bright, it's a metallic-y golden shade, but it's got like olive undertones to it. So beautiful. This is so beautiful. So here's our first coat of Hope is Golden. This covers phenomenally here on this first coat. Depending again on your preference and your application, you may end up just going in for 1 coat of this. I am going to go ahead and do 2 coats though, because I tend to apply thicker coats on my pinky and ring finger, and then I go in really, really thin on my middle and forefingers. So here is the second coat. This one does cover completely in 2 coats for me. And this is also a golden shimmer, so it's not going to be difficult to remove, and it's not going to stick to your nail, it's not going to dry textured, it's not going to do anything funky. Again, this one has a phenomenal formula, very easy to use, a little bit on the thicker side, but it makes it stay right where you put it. So there is 2 coats. And the last polish for today is called Dust of Diamonds, and this is a super light champagne base, and it's got gold, silver, and I'm thinking maybe an iridescent glitter in there as well, and those are micro glitter. And here's our first coat of Dust of Diamonds, and call me crazy, but when I apply this one, I feel like I can see pink in here. It doesn't say anything on the website about having pink, but I feel like there is a pink shimmer to this, but I could be completely wrong. This has a fantastic formula, easy to use, easy to work with, probably my favorite formula in this collection. It is a little bit on the thicker side, but it stays right where you put it. It does cover completely in 2 coats. It dries textured, and it is extremely difficult to remove. But for a finish like this, I would pop on a peel-off base coat and take it off when I'm ready, because this is stunning. So there is 2 coats.